Hate is a strong word, but ever since Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm back in 2012, it's been thrown around left, right and centre by many a Star Wars fan. Whether it be the disbandment of the expanded universe, basically everything from The Last Jedi, or Kathleen Kennedy's ability to troll everyone without meaning to, the Star Wars fanbase seems to be in an irrevocable state of discord. But what about the saga's cast and crew? Surely they're less likely to voice their displeasure, right? Well, no, not exactly. Here are 6 more Star Wars actors who hated their roles. Number 6. Ewan McGregor. Despite growing up as a massive fan of the franchise, having admired the performances of Sir Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor simply never understood the worldwide fascination with Star Wars. I like the films that I made with George Lucas and I'm happy to be part of the legend of it all, but that's it with me. I don't really understand the fanaticism about it. To make matters worse, McGregor only ever watched the Star Wars prequels at their respective premieres. But that's not to say that he never enjoyed his time on set, nor has seen the latest Disney made films. And hey, the Scottish actor has made it abundantly clear he's all for returning to the galaxy far, far away in the rumoured Obi-Wan standalone movie. Number 5. Kenny Baker. C-3PO and R2-D2, despite their many squabbles and bouts of bickering, were as inseparable as the likes of Chewbacca and Han Solo, so it's rather surprising to hear that both Anthony Daniels and Kenny Baker, the actors who portrayed them, fell out on many an occasion. In fact, Baker often referred to his droid co-star as one of the rudest men he had ever met. Anthony doesn't mix at all, he keeps himself to himself. He never wants to have a drink with any of us. Once when I said hello to him, he just turned his back on me and said, "Can't you see I'm having a conversation?" I was blazing with rage. I thought it was just me that he didn't get on with, but recently I found out he doesn't get on with anyone. He's been such an awkward person over the years. If he just calmed down and socialised with everyone, we could make a fortune touring around making personal appearances. I've asked him 4 times now, but the last time he looked down his nose at me like I was a piece of shit. Honestly, I could quote Baker for days when it came to his heavy dislike for Anthony Daniels, but at least he enjoyed working on the Star Wars movies otherwise, particularly due to the exposure it provided him and his acting career. Number 4. Carrie Fisher. While many actors have relished the opportunities provided by Star Wars, some have simply struggled to cope with the immense pressure associated with the saga. This was demonstrated all too well by both Jake Lloyd and Hayden Christensen, the details of which can be found in part 1 of this video. Cheap plugs, cheap plugs. Anyway, another name to add to such a list would be Princess Leia herself, Carrie Fisher. Aside from being made to wear a rather revealing golden bikini, Fisher found it nigh impossible to handle the intense spotlight and fame associated with Star Wars. So much so that if the budding actress knew how successful the film was going to be, she never would have accepted the role. But despite her subsequent struggles both with bipolar disorder and drugs, I'm sure we can all agree that her decision to stick around was well worth it. After all, Carrie is nothing but Star Wars royalty. Number 3. Natalie Portman. I've already talked at length about Natalie Portman and her acting struggles post-Star Wars on this very YouTube channel, so I won't go into too much detail this time around. But long story short, the now Oscar-winning actress actually quite enjoyed making each of the Star Wars prequels. Aside from the lackluster dialogue and disappointing scenes,
I don't like sand.
It was only following the release of Revenge of the Sith that her views on the franchise took a drastic turn for the worse. Star Wars had come out and everyone thought I was a horrible actress. I was in the biggest grossing movie of the decade and no director wanted to work with me. So dire had the situation become that she needed help from the late film director Mike Nichols in order to land another role. Mike wrote a letter to Anthony Minghella and said, "Put her in Cold Mountain, I vouch for her," and then Anthony passed me on to Tom Tykwer, who passed me on to the Wachowskis. 1 Oscar later, and it's fair to say Natalie has since resurrected her acting career, despite all of the flack she and the Star Wars prequels received. Number 2. Mark Hamill. Oh boy, where to start? So you know Luke Skywalker, the chap who brought peace and prosperity upon the galaxy, is a beacon of hope, doing so by bringing his seemingly irredeemable father back to the light side of the Force. Well, apparently that incarnation of the classic character simply does not exist in the mind of filmmaker Rian Johnson, much to the dismay of Mark Hamill. I said to Ryan, Jedi don't give up. I mean, even if Luke had a problem, he would maybe take a year to try and regroup. But if he made a mistake, he would try and right that wrong. So right there, we had a fundamental difference. But it's not my story anymore, it's somebody else's story, and Ryan needed me to be a certain way to make the ending effective. That's the crux of my problem. Luke would never say that, I'm sorry. Despite making a half-hearted apology on Twitter sometime later, Hamill's unhappiness and regret throughout filming The Last Jedi cannot be denied. I mean, it's not every day an actor fundamentally disagrees with the direction of their character. Number 1. Harrison Ford. Aside from, I guess, Alden Ehrenreich, it's difficult to imagine anyone other than Harrison Ford in the role of Han Solo. I mean, they are essentially one and the same, so it would seem rather strange for Harrison to hate both his character and the Star Wars franchise, especially given the massive success it brought to his acting career, right? Well, you'd be surprised. Sure, Ford has never outwardly used the specific word hate, but it's with good reason that he called for the death of Solo multiple times. As explained during an ABC interview in 2010, he simply found the classic scoundrel rather dull. As a character, he was not so interesting to me. Moreover, Ford was never a big fan of George Lucas's clunky dialogue, famously telling the director and filmmaker, "You can type this shit, but you sure as hell can't say it." But perhaps the final nail in the coffin coincided with his jump to megastardom following standout roles in both Raiders of the Lost Ark and Blade Runner. Tiny furry bears aside, however, Ford was more than willing to return to the Star Wars saga a good 30 years or so later, probably due to the long overdue death of Han Solo. So there we have it, 6 more Star Wars actors who hated their roles. But were there any that I somehow managed to miss? Let me know in the comments below. If you've learned something new from today's video, be sure to leave a like. To help out the channel that little bit extra, please do consider pledging to our Patreon page, and for weekly countdown content, press that subscribe button and notification bell to keep it locked here to the Carrie Fisher.